So hey Josh, you just went to 3 countries for us. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
3 countries in Africa, which is an extremely needy place. So the first place I went to, I flew into Kenya and then went up. Actually, had to come into Nairobi and then I flew up into Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And this is a place where it's like, some say 45%, some say 50% Muslim. So you have mosques everywhere, even in Addis Ababa. But in the places that we went when we were going south, you could just see, sometimes it was in some small city you'd be driving past and within like every mile you'd have another mosque. I can remember going through one city and I would see like 4 mosques. Some of them were small, and you see the crescent moon and the star and everything. You see it just one after another, and people constantly walking by, and you see the women with veils. I saw one woman that was completely covered. I mean, I don't even know how she could see out of it. and you do see that over there, even in Ethiopia. So one thing about Ethiopia, as probably the poorest place that I felt that I saw when I was in Africa, in those 3 countries. Ethiopia, when you get outside of Addis Ababa, you really start to see it. You really start to see the poverty. Even in Addis Ababa, when I was first picked up at the airport, I got to visit missionary Ray Hoover and his wife, Wanda. They're great people. They've had a lot of experience, and they've been missionaries on another foreign field for, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years, and then they came here to Ethiopia. But he's got a lot of neat things going. He has not given up. I mean, there's been many people that he's discipled and trained, and some people give up on him. He does not give up on them. And when I first got there, one of the things he told me was, he said, it may look like it's a rich city, Addis Ababa, the capital, but he said just behind the buildings and just around the corners you see the poverty, and you did. I visited one very small little church. It was like a house church, just a small little house, and the pastor was there. They had a proclaimer out, and they had listened all the way from like Matthew to Hebrews by that time, I think. Wow. And it was in their native language, so it was really special to them.
Was that near the capital, or
that was right near the capital? That was just like within a couple of miles, just like right inside that territory right there. And you're there and you can see the mountains in the distance, and later on we kind of went out into the mountains. But we got in that little house, and it's just like a shack, you know, just like tin on the sides and everything, and we all crammed in there, and everybody always drinks coffee, so you got these little tiny little cups of coffee, and they do it really special. And there's these people there just listening to the message, and we're just all in this tight little dark spot. It's really hard to get a camera in there and get any kind of light, but you can see the people love the Lord and they wanted to be there, and it was beautiful, but there was a lot of poverty there. It's like in a back alley, and you go down a little section and then turn, and then there's this tiny little shack.
Wow.
The people are meeting there. So those pastors, they're ministering to a lot of people. Some of those pastors are clear out 6 hours away. And one of them we didn't even get to visit. He was out on a mountainside that was pointed out to me, and his daughter was kidnapped by Muslims and integrated into the tribe, and there was nothing that he could do. The elder of the tribe said, no, she's part of us now, and he lost his daughter, and he still ministered in that area, and then they burned his church down. So, you know, you've got persecution there,
right,
among those churches, definitely.
Being with them, I mean, meeting these men, speaking with them, getting to know them, do you think these are men that we can support?
Definitely. He said he had, I don't know, 5, 6 men that are planning churches, and they're zealous about it. I met several guys that we went on one trip one time where we were out in the countryside near Addis Ababa, still out there a ways, and we walked for probably 5 miles out across the countryside, just barren farmland, and these guys are handing out tracts and witnessing all the entire way. And these areas are not as civilized as you know, the capital or anything like that. You've got kids out there. You always see the little girls carrying water. You know, they've got little yellow buckets and containers and everything. And there's one place where they're getting their water, and it's like green scum all over it. And you can see them drawing water from that spot. And it's a tiny little area, like maybe 4 times the size of this building. Just a small little, like maybe 1 city block, something like that, probably less. And it's this little forest, and they say they see lights in there at night. There's some demonic presence that they have to sacrifice a goat or a chicken to, or this snake creature will come out and kill their children or kill their livestock. But they're allowed to go in and get water at certain times.
Right.
And, they didn't like pictures being taken there very much.
I can imagine.
But you've got kids living in poverty there, gathering their water from the scum pond, and you see the girls carrying the firewood and the buckets everywhere, the containers. But these pastors were witnessing to all these people. They have this person way out there, like 5 miles out, that accepted Christ, and they're traveling out to try to find him again, and they're witnessing to everybody. So their hope is to start a church in that place.
Sure. Wow, that's amazing.
It's neat to see them in action.
Well, tell me about these children. Do you think they could benefit from our Touch of Life or Daily Bread program?
Definitely. There's a place, it's called Hosanna, and it's interesting because it's like Jewish Ethiopian people, and they don't even intermarry hardly.
Right.
They stay connected to this family. And there was one particular one where we had a preacher, and his brother, I think, lived in the village, or his family or something. I know his wife was staying with his brother. And we come to this village, and I didn't know actually where we were headed. We had been up in a top area, and we come into this territory. It's really beautiful after a big rainstorm. And there was people up there that said, they said, we like what we're hearing. They were hearing the gospel. And the preachers were preaching, and we just had them all in a little road area, like a dirt road. And then one of them turned to me, because I couldn't speak their language, but they did speak some English. Mm-hmm. And they said, we like what we're hearing. We want a church here. We want a church here.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you get down into the valley, and you find this place. This is where it gets to the children, is we come into this village, and from a distance you can see they're all waiting for us. And they have these signs that say welcome. And the kids that are holding them, especially this little girl, I will never forget this one little girl, and she's standing there holding a sign that says welcome in English and welcome in their language, and she's got flies just all over her eyes, her nose, her mouth, and you see a lot of the kids don't even know better, and they'll lay eggs in their eyes, and then later on they'll have eye problems, they'll go blind. You see a lot of adults, especially women, where they'll have one eye that's a lazy eye that's given up and it just goes off to the side.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of these kids. But there's kids there with snotty noses and sicknesses and naked and just in this village, and they're waiting for us. And they were displaced by the government not so long ago, and they said, we can't get water, we can't get good water, and our well is not, we don't have a well, the farmland is not the same, and we're having trouble growing our crops. And so these kids are just...
Did they say why they were displaced?
The government took their land. There's certain lands that is being used for something else, and I didn't hear the story on that.
They just said, you got to move.
Yeah, they made a move.
How many people are we talking about here? 200, 1,000?
No, this was more like probably a village of say 100 people, something like that. They were so happy to have us there. And the gospel was preached in that place, and there was a group of, 7 or 8 of them that said, I want to accept Christ. I believe the message. And they walked us across their territory singing. We all were in this big group and just walked across there. But you don't forget those children. I remember Ray Hoover saying the biggest need they have is water. They need a well here. But you have kids there that I have seen, getting a cup and pulling up water out of a mud puddle after the rain and filling that.
Did they have any infrastructure, any public utilities such as water from water main,
No.
electricity, anything?
There's no electricity there,
Nothing.
and all the huts are grass tops and mud sides and everything. And the only thing there is like there's a religion that came in and built a well and tried to build some kind of school for some group further away, but it's not for these people. But I saw a lot of kids just looking through the fence and everything, and in other places where they're all just they're not getting water. They're real close.
How many children are we talking about here out of 100?
Out of that village there,
50.
most of them are our children, so probably half of them. Yeah, in that one village. I mean, the whole area is. I saw so many children.
How far away is this from the capital, would you say, from where Ray Hoover is based out of?
I would say 6 hours.
6 hours.
6 hours south. And that's just one preacher that's trying to start a church there.
Sure. And these are with the people that are actually Jews, you said. Are they Orthodox Jews, or
that I was not
a
told.
little shaky in their...
They probably are a little bit.
Perfect opportunity.
Yeah. But they want a church there. That's the thing. When they hear the message, they want a church there. That's the exciting thing. 2 places in one small territory.
Do they have one of the audio Bibles in this village?
Not in this village.
We actually were able to provide missionary Ray Hoover with, I think, 5 proclaimers when he was here. I think it was around October of last year.
Wow.
And one of our power packs. So it sounds like he needs some more audio Bibles. At least for that village, they definitely need to get one in there. We do have the ability sometimes to provide solar panel and different facilities that are off grid.
Yeah.
If we can work out things with their government to get things shipped in without having to pay enormous taxes on it. But that sounds like the perfect opportunity to start Touch of Life, and maybe even start out with our Daily Bread program.
Yes.
We've got Daily Bread, which provides food for widows and orphans. As you know, a Touch of Life is basically pairs one sponsor with one child.
Right.
Very difficult to do when you're trying to feed 20, 40, 50 kids at one time, but funding that comes in for Daily Bread allows us to spend those funds on specific areas like this while we look for sponsors for the children. Mm-hmm. So that sounds like a good opportunity.
There's a lot of need there. And that place brought me to tears many times.
Sure.
More than probably anywhere else in Africa with the things that I saw in Ethiopia. It really touched my heart. So a lot of needy children.
Yeah. There's a need for the Lord and need for water and food and probably many other things. But
yeah,
take it one day at a time.